Welcome back. Let's talk about building a fearless career. I really like this theme because it's all about building the freedom that you need to develop the life that you want and adapt your career to your lifestyle and not the other way around. So I've done that for myself and I want to teach you to do that. And this applies to you if you're going to have a non-linear career, or if you had a career that is atypical, that is not very elegant, zigzagging, going from one industry or one country to the next, changing functions, changing jobs often, not staying for long in the same job and in the same role. And so people will look at this and perhaps, think that you're not so predictable and easy to define. And usually, at the end of the day, people like you and me, if we have chosen to be a bit more hectic and crazy with our career choices. I mean, it's bold, it's brave, but if you follow some of the tips I'm going to give to you today, you're going to find some balance and structure these more, like I said, non-linear careers. So this applies to you if you are a bit of an original, if you are a risk taker, if you're moving across countries a lot, if you're a consultant or a freelancer, or if you are perhaps a digital nomad, if you're a lover of passive income, if you are an expat or a trailing spouse following your loved one around the world and trying to make sense of your own career. This is for you if you are perhaps an ex-international civil servant, if you worked for an NGO or an international organization like the United Nations, and it's going to help you take on the next step in your career. And it's also going to help you stay structured despite the fact that you are at the edge of the traditional corporate ladder. I want you to keep in mind that you should adopt a fearless, but at the same time, strategic approach to your career. Have boundaries in terms of the risk that you're going to take. I think it's important that you are the pilot and not the co-pilot of your career, that you're not relying on someone else, on the institution, the boss, on the company owner to decide on your next career move. It is fine to be on a risky path. It is okay to design your own risky adventure career-wise, but I think risk should be mitigated, not avoided or seeked. You should just understand how to find a way to mitigate risk, because failures will come. You will take some risks in your career, in your life, and you just want to make sure to create boundaries so that you can mitigate the risk that will come. Beware of those who will try to discourage you to continue down the path of being your own boss and being independent, so that you focus on those people, your allies, who have already done what you're trying to achieve. Hang out with people who have already taken the risks that you're trying to take for yourself. And I think you should also be mindful of the trends out there and be ahead of the game. Like, I'm going to give you an example. I started to be remote before it was a trend. I have my son who has special needs and I wanted to be close to him at home. So I built my career around that. I wanted to be home when he was home. I wanted to work when he was sleeping or when he was at school. So I was able to design my career around my lifestyle way before, like I said, remote work wasn't even a thing at that time, and I was already doing that. And I think if you harness, if you are ahead of the game and you really try to leverage on the trends that you are identifying to future-proof yourself, you will not just do that, but you will also be anticipating the risk, and you will, be surfing the wave, surfing the trends, perhaps even setting the trends by making your lifestyle the center and not your career, even though it is a bit of a risk. And of course, you have to take 2 steps back in order to leap, but it is definitely the best strategy if you are in a non-linear career path. Be in the right location. If you're going to be, unemployed for a while, make sure to be in a location where you can afford to do that. Don't be in perhaps, Europe or the US, but maybe go to a location like in South America or perhaps countries in Asia where you can do that and really plan for the time where you're not going to be making a steady income. I think you should also be bold, no time for regrets. Keep failing fast forward often so that you can quickly eliminate all the different options and figure out which ones are you going to stick with. Stay open-minded, right? At all times, I think You want to be curious about the different channels and avenues that you are venturing into. I, before COVID hit, was mostly focused in recruitment. And then COVID came, and then I turned towards outplacement, reverse recruitment. Make sure that you are covering several different areas of specialty that you can quickly shift into if you have to. And of course, you're going to have to juggle several different streams of income, placing your eggs in different baskets. I like the terminology pioneer with no frontiers, making your career fit your lifestyle across the border, across different, job functions and cultural settings. I think you should definitely not have a plan B. If you're launching a career that is nonlinear, just put all your eggs in one basket for a certain amount of time, right? Give yourself 6 months or a year, and then, and at the same time, you want to be mindful of how you're going to diversify your stream of income, but don't have like if this doesn't work out, I'll do something else. I think, yes, you should have different competencies, but focus is very powerful. Focus and movement will definitely take you there. It is more important to keep moving than to make the right decision. Think long term. Identify the trends, hopefully set the trends, and anticipate change. Let's talk a little bit about risk mitigation. I read a really interesting book called The Originals by Adam Grant, and he was essentially saying that the big founders out there, Google, Facebook, Tesla, they only really took on their full-time job as founders once the company, so for example, Google, the founders only left their full-time jobs, their 9 to 5, to be at Google full-time when Google went public. So this is quite something, right? So they were juggling a 9 to 5 and a 5 to 9 until their hobby became profitable, truly profitable. You're going to have to juggle different priorities, different clients, different jobs, different projects until you can dedicate yourself to one. But to be frank with you, I don't think you should only have one single focus. You can have a main area of interest, but you want to continue to be somewhat promiscuous on the side when it comes to your career. Challenge the status quo. Find allies who think like you, act like you. So if you are an entrepreneur, then you want to hang out with other people who are also in that same mindset. I really like the concept of taking 2 steps back in order to leap, to take a bigger jump, right? So sometimes in your career, you might feel like, I'm moving slower than I would like to. I'm making less money. I'm taking on this certification. I'm taking this leap of faith. But these moments, they really pay back, and they will be worth the effort, worth the sort of the downsizing, right? Because what you want to be is not always growing. You not always want to be scaling. You want to be sustainable. You want to be long-term. Strategic orientation is key. Keep moving. In my opinion, movement is always going to be stronger and more important than, am I making the right decision? Am I making the right choices here? It's really hard to evaluate whether or not you're going the right direction, but at least you are in constant movement. Other people might be inspired by your actions. So if you slow down, if you stop, if you get discouraged, you're going to see a lot of people around you thinking, I'm also going to stop, or I'm also going to slow down, because if you're not going to do it, then maybe I shouldn't do it either. So be mindful of that. You're an inspiration to so many people, your team, a lot of people are watching you. So keep them proud, and you're going to also see the benefits of that. I think there's no perfect moment to start your own thing, to become your own boss. Just like there's no perfect moment to become a mother, a parent in general. It's always going to be challenging. It's always going to be a stretch, because you don't have the guarantee of how much you're going to make this month. It's always a bit of a suspense. Take the first step though, and you will not regret it. Seek innovation, pushing your career forward. Innovation lives at the intersection of 2 areas that would never otherwise meet. If you think about rap music and classical music, if back in the 90s, I remember that these 2 genders or styles of music, they were mixed together just to come into a sort of magical, innovative, wow, I never heard that before moment where people got really excited about, this unusual mix of two different areas that normally never meet. And when they do, this is what sparks innovation. This is where novelty exists. So I think you can actually have a lot of diverse sections or function meeting together to form a career that is really innovative. So let's talk about this in a second. But one more thing that I wanted to add is board membership, board advisory roles. If you are looking to skyrocket your career, seek opportunities where you can become a member of a board, if you can become a mentor in an accelerator program, an incubator of startups, if you can perhaps be part of a more senior group of people where you might not get so much money out of it, but you will get so much exposure, connections, and more experience where you're growing others and at the same time, of course, growing your career. I know that board membership in the CV also looks really good and will help you accelerate your seniority, your growth. Like I said, don't choose, you can have it all. I was reading an article about this trader who was also a DJ and at the same time he was also an author. So he was saying, you know what, it's actually very complementary. I can take the clients from, the investment bank that I work at to the club where I DJ, where I mix, and then I can write about it, in my articles. And it's all coming together so nicely. He doesn't want to drop any of those balls because they all complement each other. And this is where, like I said, innovation will meet, will exist, will spark. I think you should try to connect dots that no one else has connected before by building an innovative and unique career. Like, you don't have to choose whether you want to be a DJ or a trader. You could actually have it all. Have a 9 to 5, have a 5 to 9. Try to juggle all of it together and put your focus in different places at different moments, but don't drop any ball because they will complement each other. Be bold, take control of your career, be your own boss. If you have a non-linear career, don't try to fit into a traditional corporate ladder because it won't work for you. If you want to know more about it, I'm more than happy to support you, and let's talk on the other side.